All right, good day, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year 2024. It's not just for the first week of January. You could say that, I think, until at least March, at least the first quarter of every year. It throws people off and it's kind of fun because then they have to respond and say, thank you. Happy New Year. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's always exciting, to catch up on a new podcast, but we're still keeping a theme. We're bringing back a repeat guest co-host to kick off 2024, even though this might not air until February or March at this point. But without further ado, we're going to jump right in. Chuck Wood, sir, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. It's good to be back.
And I love the new virtual background. So what do I got to see in there? Your shirt's blocking the first word of the summit. What is that? Oh, what's that supposed to say?
Is it reversed?
Well, it's black on black for me. So I just see your shirt is blending with the first word in your microphone. So I can't
interesting. Yeah. It's Ruby Dev Summit.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So as a reminder for our listeners, he knows a little bit about programming. And if you've ever heard the word Ruby, that's a language in the computer programming world. That's my non-technical explanation. But Chuck might know a few things to the point where he literally has a training company. He speaks at the conferences. He's got lots of podcasts, all the things in the development world.
Yeah.
Is that a really bad sum up, my friend?
No, it's decent.
That's decent? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Well, again, I bring you on not just because we don't talk about computer programming and development work on the show. But as a refresh for the newer listeners here in 2024, Chuck comes on because he and I have been chatting on the mics for a couple of years, ever since we met each other virtually to help each other launch our first books. So he's an author, I'm an author, he's a podcaster, I'm a podcaster. I'm a technology geek, but he's at a whole other level of technology geek because he understands computer programming. So there you go. That's another little sum up as well.
Yeah. Slightly more specialized. That's the way I put it.
I like that. Yeah. You're specialized. So that's like a buddy of mine. He's specialized in hacking banks. Like legitimately, that was his legal profession, but he's not a programmer.
Yeah.
He's he and I worked together in the 90s. Back then they called him an IS security engineer, so information systems security engineer. So he was an ISSE, and he ran all of our mail servers and stuff for the call center company we were working for. So, see, I can talk a little bit of tech speak.
Yep.
So, but hey, man, since it's the first time you and I chatted since the end of 2023, what's up?
Oh gosh,
just dive right in, my friend. How's 75 hard?
So
how many times have we restarted it?
I mean, I kind of gave up on it for a little while, to be honest.
I know.
I had a family member. I had a family member try and commit suicide, and so I've been dealing with all the emotional crap there.
Okay, well, I can't smile for that. That's
sort
awful.
Through that. So,
okay.
I mean, and then my contract work slowed way down, so I've been putting in the extra time on that stuff instead of the, because you have to work out twice a day. Yeah. And
you got your own company stuff, your own podcast stuff, the contract gig stuff, the family stuff because you're super dad, the personal stuff, and then 75 hard stuff. So I plan on getting back on the 75 hard train, but here's the point of 75 hard. I mean, how I look at it. It's meant to show you consistency and to commit to a program that not just for your health, fitness, and wellness, but ends up just resetting your mind and shows you capable of doing things beyond what you normally expect, right? It's a mindset thing. So technically, you've already gone through 75 Hard before. We've aired episodes in the past. Ladies and gentlemen, you can just search for Chuck Wood or Charles Wood on LiveTheFuel.com and you'll find us past shows. So we've talked about 75 Hard before because you have completed it.
Yes.
To the point where you eventually did your first half marathon, right?
No, full marathon.
A full marathon, sorry. I did not want to take that away. And then you were using this next phase to you're going to go into some type of triathlon thing, weren't you?
Yeah. And so, the triathlon training is also on hold because, I mean, the amount of time you have to put in to train for a triathlon, it actually fits pretty nicely with 75 hard.
Sure. It is a major commitment.
It's just been so many things. And so at this point, I'm just trying to chase down a few revenue sources and, get a couple of other things ironed out. And then, I get, so some people are going to listen to this if they've done 75 hard and they've listened to Andy Frisella talk about it. And he basically advocates that you just do it anyway.
Yeah, that is his shtick. That's his shtick. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I've just been so utterly overwhelmed, and yeah. Anyway,
well, honestly,
I definitely want to get back on the wagon, but it's just it's been harder than it necessarily has to be. And if you've been listening to his show lately, he's been sick, like super sick. And so he hasn't been doing 75 Hard either.
Founder of 75 Hard, author of the book 75 Hard. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and I get it, right? Because if you're working out when you're sick, you may make it worse. And anyway, but yeah. So it's something that I intend to start here within the next couple.
Yeah. I mean, because again, if you're trying to like crush a
make your health situation
workout,
worse.
I mean, depending, I mean, again, what is the definition of a workout? What is the definition of exercise, right? That's a good point.
Fair enough.
Right? Per 75 Hard, what is the time length they want to see per day? 2
45-minute workouts.
Okay. So here's my thing. When I was sick, if I was ever sick, I get like one big chest sniffle fest a year, lasts maybe a day or two, a slight headache, and that's it. Dude, I've done that on a rowing machine. Like I go out to my gym, hop on a rowing machine, and I can row for an hour. That's exercise.
You just don't crush it hard. Yeah.
Oh, you're not. Well, first of all, the whole point of rowing is it's endurance training. You can use a rower for sprint, type stuff, cycling, high intensity interval training like CrossFit type stuff. Or you just flip the switch, say like, you know what? My body's healing. I just want to move it, help cycle some of that inflammation out. So I'm just gonna hang out and row. I love rowing machines. They're great. So.
No, that's true. And to be honest, I mean, within the next few days, I'm probably going to start just getting up a little early. And
I think you should just one up for Zeller. You just get back to the exercises before he does. Call him out on Twitter, dude. Like, oh, Andy, man, I love you. I've been through your program. You know what? I hear you're under the weather, but guess what? Chuck's back at it. That would be fun, actually. Because then technically he should call you back and say, yeah, man, get after it. Right. So,
yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Anyway. So then I've been going through a pivot on the business. So, I mean, it's just,
Well, I know all this stuff was in motion before last we chatted. So I'm happy for you. So obviously you haven't had time to be distracted by other things like the old political game or the school systems games and stuff like that? Or is that stuff pretty much always there? I mean, it's
pretty much always there. I'm the vice chair for the Utah County Republican Party, and so I'm involved. We're getting ready for caucus night coming up in March, and trying to get all that stuff ironed out. And then
so I don't talk a lot about politics
stuff. Yeah,
but I gotta ask. So since you're my most political person I ever. Not really actually get on the show with for that reason, but we end up talking a little bit. But like, dude, border Texas is Utah on the camp or off the camp? Or are they still playing Switzerland? I'm just intrigued because I get back from vacation because I totally unplugged. I wasn't keeping up with anything.
No, it's all good. So there were like 25.
This whole state map. It's just like during the election years, like they're doing color coded states again, and like who's on Team Texas, and I'm like, what is going on? So.
Yeah, so there was a letter that was sent. 25 governors signed on and said Texas is in the right.
Yeah,
Utah's governor signed on to that. Yeah, so
okay,
I think he has the right of it. Some of the questions under the Constitution
is a stretch.
Well, I don't know if it's a stretch, but I'm not an expert enough to say because I've heard plausible explanations of the legal standing for Texas to do what they're doing on both sides of the issue.
My thing is this: if you've removed
and I don't know which one's right.
Right. So let's remove the Constitution element because it's so polarized, and let's remove the political and just say this: you're being invaded by people without citizen rights. Because when my family came here from Europe and Ireland, we had to go through Ellis Island. We had to respect the process. We had to apply. We had to file paperwork to become citizens. I believe in that process to this day. But hey, you want to live in a free country? At least make sure that you're on the books, right? So plus, again, well, not that these systems barely exist anymore, but what if you want to qualify for Social Security one day if you're aging or whatever? Yada, 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 yada. That's my only thing. So I'm like, hey, if the federal government's going to weld the gates open on the fence, then weld them back shut is what I say. Barbed wire or whatever, because you go to any other country, They all have border checkpoints all over the world.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. My grandparents, my grandpa immigrated from Canada, and my grandma immigrated from France.
Yeah.
And you know, they went through the system.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, as far as it goes, yeah, people seeking asylum because they're legitimately under threat in their home country. Yeah. You know, if we can let them in, let's let them in.
But to be fair, all of those countries have always been in a state of despair, and this massive.
No, but that's different. Yeah. I'm talking about the government is going to send people with guns in.
Oh, right? That, yeah.
That kind of asylum, right?
Yeah.
Not, hey, you know, it's poor here. Yeah. That's totally different.
Well, because now there's some countries down in South America and Central America, they're coming out and saying, like, man, we're losing our workforce. Like, they're like,
yeah,
could you close your borders because we don't have a workforce? So
well, the other thing, in my opinion, is, and yeah, we've already gone way off topic.
I know, right?
But if we're gonna let people in the country, I think we have a responsibility to them to make sure that when they come, that they have at least a reasonable expectation that they can find a job, that they're safe, that they're right, that they're going to be able to contribute.
That's my only point.
In order for us to do that, we have to know who they are.
Like, here's my thing. You want to come and live in my country, which is a free country. In order to have our freedoms, we pay taxes. So in order to plug you into our free system to protect you, you need to become a contributing member of society. Right. And we already have millions of homeless with mental health issues who are registered citizens who don't contribute to society, and my tax dollars have to pay for that. So if I already got to deal with that, I'm sorry, close the border. Now, if you are being chased by guns and drugs and everything else, then let's figure out a program for that, right? I don't know. Right. Let's say, in the case
we have
of an
programs
emergency
for that, but they make a mockery of those. So yeah.
So,
but anyway,
the whole open border thing is idiotic. We are not ready for it. And yes, there's children and families not being taken care of over our border.
They go through hell.
Yeah. There's raping and then
they come here,
kidnapping and all these things. It's terrible. So it's like, that's what happens when you just say, I'll just swing the gate open. Dude, the system was never built to handle this influx. And you wonder why it's a hot mess, and then you just don't do anything about it. So that's why it's like, hey, Texas can say, listen, okay, let's at least close it for now, or let's work together to figure out a better system because it's not working. So,
well, and I feel like that's the agreement that the federal government has with the states, is that the federal government is going to take care of the issues that they have under the Constitution, to protect the states, and they haven't done that for Texas, and so Texas has to do it on their own. The federal government
is just taking care of other countries instead of their own people and their own states that they're over top of, right? It's like, we elected you to protect us, and we pay you to protect us. And you're just taking all of our money and helping people that we don't even know who they are, what their backgrounds are. Do they have a criminal background? Are they from Iran? Which, yes, people have been proven to be coming over the border. So anyway, it's off topic. It's just, I just felt like chatting because I was like, I came in fresh on this. I've been gone for over a week and a half, and I'm like, whoa, okay. This is they've been busy.
But on the level that I deal with, mostly we're concerned with, who's running in the local elections, who's running in the statewide elections, how do we facilitate the caucus meetings so that we elect delegates, so the delegates can make the right decision to nominate the right people to the general election, and then how do we get people who are going to make the best decisions we can get them to make elected to office. That's the kind of stuff that I'm dealing with on this level. So at this point, we're talking about organizing, several hundred simultaneous meetings across the county and working with the people who are doing that in their smaller areas to get it done.
And good for
you,
because
giving them the tools, and we're done to report all the results back in.
Because like people are like, oh, you're a citizen and you pay taxes. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But like, listen, some people like you are wired to really take that leap and get involved. To me, it is a cesspool. I live in Pennsylvania. and it's exhausting. And I'm like, I just don't want to do it. I was like, maybe one day I will. Maybe one day I'll flip the switch like you did and say, let me at least try a little bit of it. Try and help where I can. I have a feeling my patience fuse will burn very quickly because I know it's so broken. And I know there is probably some good people like you and me out there trying to make a difference. And I'm just like, I'm just going to focus on my family right now. You know,
no, I'm kind of there too. I get that. So,
and I didn't want to say it because it makes me sound selfish. Right. But I'm like, you know what, how many other millions of people don't do anything and don't care or don't even, let alone even look at who's being elected. They just rubber stamp it. Oh, I'll just pick that guy or that girl. Like you didn't even look into it. At least I do that.
That's a large part of the problem actually, is that, you know, folks don't pay attention to that kind of thing. The other thing that I think folks don't realize is that in your local elections, a lot of the people who get elected locally, a lot of them, that's the pool that we wind up drawing from for the larger elections, you know, for governor or, you know, statewide congressional seats and things like that.
Look at California. Newsom thinks he's worth more than what he's already screwed up. Like, dude, you need to just get out of the political game altogether. You're a hot mess.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not playing blue versus red. I'm just saying there's certain candidates that just need to go away. So.
Yeah, but my point is that so the people who get elected to school board eventually run for state legislature, eventually run for governor or Congress. And so paying attention to local politics actually is where I think most people should pay attention to. And the problem is that a lot of the news sources are only interested in covering the mess in Washington, D.C., which honestly is just, I mean,
it's so far out of our control.
Yeah, well, and there are already a handful of people there I like on either side of the aisle.
Right.
So
I agree with you. Actually, that was a great point. And it kind of goes big picture. It's not just politics, right? But when I look at, like when I started my charity, when I wrote the book, I realized I was trying to maybe figure out how to go big. And I'm like, not from a brand standpoint, it was just like, how do I help bigger projects? And then like right now, I just got invited back to Arizona to visit the 50th anniversary of my old hotshot crew that I fought fire with. I'm like, ooh. So right now I'm researching flights to go back in about just over a month. And I can't wait because I want to talk to the people running the crew now, which is a federal government, U.S. Forest Service group, but their funding's been cut. It's a hot mess. They're struggling to hire people. And I was like, all right, well, I started a charity. The proceeds of the book benefits a charity, and then I donate 5% of all my company income into the charity. So I'm basically the primary donator, you know, because now I'm like, okay, well, if I'm generating no less than $3,000 to $5,000 a year minimum into the charity, why don't I create a scholarship program? Right?
Yeah.
How do I help them at the local level where that crew is? And who knows, maybe it grows. Maybe it goes into other hotshot crews in other cities, other states. But I remember this great quote, and it applies kind of off of the theme we were going here, is like, start local and grow global, right? You got to build something of success first. And sometimes the easiest play is to help a local organization or a local effort. And that's what I do now. Like I've donate bike repair stations to the local parks because part of my background is mountain biking. So when I started the charity, I'm like, all right, at least locally where I live here, we're going to support the biking community because I'm heavily interested in that. The Fuel Foundations can go beyond that. And since fire's in the logo and firefighting inspired the book, I'm looking for a two-part thing. I want the local here and I want to benefit the fire community. So I'm excited for this because to your point, where's my direct impact? Can I impact the Department of Interior? Nope. Can I impact at the big level, the USDA or even the U.S. Forest Service? No, but I can impact my old crew. And then if I can help my old crew and their hiring practices or help buy gear for low income firefighters coming in because I was a gear nut. I had all kinds of cool gear that I still have to this day to help me camp better and camp nicer. The government's not going to pay for that. They'll make sure you got your uniform. They'll make sure you got chainsaws. They'll make sure you got tools. You know, they'll give you a decent tent, but I bought my own, inflatable, you blow your mouth. I bought my own, thermarest, like my own inflatable ground mat. And I didn't like their sleeping bag. So I upgraded my sleeping bag, or I bought a nice camp stove, or I got a nice French press to hike with, right? These little things, they all add up. And a lot of people getting into wild and fire out west by you, not everybody has money. So So I like that you just kind of tripped that trigger for me, that impact the local. And you're right, politically, going back to our point, was that is the one area, like you just said, everything is a stepping stone. So if we could start earlier and catch the quality people early on before they get to the broken system, well, okay, maybe we have a chance, you know?
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, it's still a long game. I think a lot of people want to see immediate change in Washington, and I just don't think we're going to get there. I think it's going to be a long game, and it's going to be by supporting better people through the process.
Yeah.
So,
or we're going to see the empire crash and burn.
Yeah.
Which, if you study history, going back hundreds of years, massive empires, even the British Empire, right? They didn't really crash and burn, but they are not what they used to be. And this is bigger than our quick little half-hour segment, right? But it's like, okay. But I have buddies of mine, hardcore guys, and they're on both sides, Republican and Democrat. They're like, yeah, like maybe the power of the USA isn't going to continue at the same level for a while. We have to be ready for that. So that's why it's important that we make sure our shores are secure and our borders are secure, and that our people aren't starving on the streets. Because God forbid, like, you can't keep helping everybody else and let the core of your economy and the core of your country fall apart.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's time to get a little selfish. I mean, you can still help others while being a little bit of selfish, you know?
Well, but is it really selfish if...
Depends who you talk to, right? It's not really selfish, but it depends who we're talking to.
Yeah, but my point is that if we take care of things at home to the point where we can continue to sustain contributing outside the country where we actually need to, right? But we can't be involved in everything because we just don't have the resources,
and we can't fight other people's wars.
Right.
I'm done with that. I've been done with that for a long time. Hell,
I think a lot of people are.
Yeah, it's like but that's the war machine, and that's where the big money's at. That's where the big money's at. So.
Yeah, but I think eventually, as it impacts more people, that's where you see people get more involved. And anyway,
yeah, because especially with modern media, this goes beyond you and I being podcasters, but podcasts are part of it. Social media, the negative news networks. That is how people are finding out about this stuff so quick, so fast. But as in every other political impact or story, the average citizen is not digging deep enough into the truth story behind it. Yeah. They'll just jump on the polarized bandwagon and not knowing what they're backing. Right. Yeah. Again, I know this is a polarized subject, but like the whole Black Lives Matter movement, I have friends of color, professionals, speakers, everything. And they're like, yeah, I didn't support that from the beginning. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, why? He goes, dude, there was corruption all over that. And I was like, ooh. So there's people now coming out of the woodwork and admitting, like, yeah, that was a hot mess. They don't speak for the Black community. They don't speak for people of color. It was so refreshing seeing like friends of mine and colleagues come out and talk about that. Yeah. But that was, how powerful was that for a little while? I mean, it made a big mess. Yeah. Defund the police and all the things.
And it was so politicized. I mean, if it had just been down to, hey, we need to be more aware on these issues, right?
Let's work together on these issues.
Right. But instead it was not that. It felt like it was much more a push in one direction for a specific agenda that didn't actually necessarily benefit Black people.
Right. It benefited the head people who had mansions and lots of fancy cars. And again, it's not really BLM's fault per se. It was the money coming into the BLM, and who were the big influencers that influenced BLM? Right. So,
and there were people at the grassroots level that really wanted to make a difference, and they didn't get the support from the global or national organization. And so, and
they didn't know what the national organization was actually doing with the bigger money donors involved. That's why it goes back to big pharma, right? The hospital systems, the healthcare, the standard American diet, all of these variables we're talking about is money out of control. If you follow the money, you'll find the problems. But the average person's not willing to dig deep enough to even realize that. So that's why I always bring it back to that point, which you kind of hit on earlier, which is or I quoted it as support, support local, grow global. But
yeah,
go back to that N1 on health, right? Like you with your goals, with your own health and wellness, right? Sometimes it's, and again, maybe selfish isn't a good word, but it's like, okay, let's focus on me so I could be a better husband, a better father,
yeah,
better support system for my family. Then once I got that dialed in, okay, maybe I can run a charity. And like me, like what I started doing, I didn't have the bandwidth to handle a charity years ago. I didn't have the bandwidth to write a book, Hell, years ago when you and I first connected, you barely had enough bandwidth to get your book going because you were getting attacked all over Twitter, right? It was like, dude, we're always going to be attacked. It's just, again, selfish maybe is a bad word. How do we refocus? There we go. How do we refocus on actionable, positively actionable items that can benefit us today and then can grow positively outward? I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do we set our priorities is, I guess, with that focus, right? So, okay, I've got my health figured out. I'm healthy. I'm happy. So now I can pour into somebody else's cup, if that makes sense.
Actually, that's the quote. I was trying to think of the cup quote. Thank you. Because that's used a lot.
And then I pour enough into my family's cups to where now they're pouring back into me, and I'm pouring into them. And we're all getting what we need. So now it's, okay, well, how do I do that with my neighborhood or my community, right? And then from there, it's, okay, well, now I feel like I have enough to pour into,
bigger things,
things at a wire level. Yeah. And so,
well said. Yeah, because that's a good point. Is the pour into the cup thing, is that from religion?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember where that came from, but it's a valid quote because it's true.
It's an analogy that's widely used. So yeah,
because I was trying to pour from an empty cup. Yeah, and I was always stressed because I was always like, I might get the cup, an inch up, and then I'm draining it, inch up, draining it, inch up, draining. It's like, God, Scott, like this is why, like, Scott, I had to cut things out. I had other business ideas, other companies I wanted to start. I'm like, you know what? Let's just focus on this one project right now.
Yep.
And I think you've been there too, right? With your company, your podcast, the contract
I'm there right
work.
now. I'm cutting stuff out.
There we go. It's like, okay, I know I've got these goals and aspirations, but back to your point, let's pause. Let's list them out. Let's look at what's possibly realistically attainable. Let's look at the stresses tied to each one. Let's look at the money tied to each one. Is the money to stress ratio worth it? Is it even attainable in the next 6 to 12 months? Right.
Right.
All of these things actually come into being an entrepreneur too. Like, okay, well, what does my next 3 to 6 months look like? What does the next 1 to 5 years looks like? A lot of people never even get that far. They don't realize, like, okay, I'm pouring my half full cup out to attack these 5 projects or these 5 business ideas. They're all struggling. If I can dial that back, that allows the cup to fill to maybe 3/4, maybe 85%. Well, now I'm just dumping it into just 2 big projects, because maybe you still need more than one. Fine. But you have a lot more bandwidth to work off of.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and he mentioned that he had listened to a talk by Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you know who Alex is.
I know. I've heard that name. What is it? It's what is
he had a gym management company, software company for a while, and then he's written like $100 million offers and Okay. Anyway, he gave a talk. I haven't watched the talk yet, but this is what my friend Brian pulled out of it. He basically said that Alex got up and he put like 10 cups on a table and he filled them all, like a couple inches full, and said, this is what most entrepreneurs feel like they have to do. Yep. And so then he said, and the problem is that you don't make headway right this way. But he said, if you pour all this water into one cup, then it'll overflow the cup, right? Then you make real progress.
I like that. Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense.
I got to tag his name in the show notes. What's his name again? It was
Alex Hormozy.
Alex Hormozy. That's right. Hormozy. I just want to tag that for our research later. So,
but yeah, so, I mean, a lot of this has kind of come to a head lately. My contract work slowed down. The sponsorship stuff really isn't taken off, and so I was like, okay. And the other thing was that I was killing myself trying to keep all the podcasts up in the air.
That's true. Maybe there's some shows that are meant to fizzle out.
Yeah.
Were they reaching enough? Maybe you can consolidate somehow. Maybe you can cross-pollinate some audiences into the others as you fizzle one out. I don't know.
Yeah. But it got to the point where basically I was like, look, what is it that I really want to do? Right. If I got in and I was just like, you know what, I quit all of it, right? Tomorrow, right? What is it that what is it that I really want to do? And I kind of boiled it down to, I really want to help people find fulfillment and freedom in their development journey. But
that's part of your new company and the training and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that the training stresses me out.
Oh, interesting.
And so I'm looking at it and
you have been digging deep, Chuck. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I looked at it and I was like, I do want to do videos that show people how to do this stuff. But I was going to try and do a series on Ruby and a series on JavaScript and a series on React and a series on Rails. And I realized,
what makes you happiest?
Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And so
focus on that one language. Maybe it's just all Ruby for a while.
Yeah. And that's where it boiled down. But then I was looking at it and I was going, okay, well, here's the thing is it's not just the training. Like I'll record videos and I kind of like doing that as far as it goes. But it's really not the thing that lights me up. And so I started looking at it and I was like, I really like building things that people use. Right.
Okay. Like platforms and infrastructure.
Yeah. And so, and in October I went to a Rails conference where they talked about how Rails, so the guy that created Rails, he really wants it to be a framework where you can start your own thing and you can get it from zero to profitable on your own.
Okay.
Right. You're the programmer, you build the whole thing. Right. And it's not unreasonable to do that. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, I've tried building a few of those. And the problem is I always get hung up on the payment system and on the user management system and all these other things. And there really isn't a great walkthrough on how to do it. And so then I started looking at it and I was like, you know what? I figured this out enough times because I've done it for clients. I've done it for myself. I was like, you know what? What if I just put those pieces out there, right? People can pay to license those pieces of their app to me. And then they can use my software, plug it into their application. And not like, so there are services that do a lot of these things, but the problem is then you're outsourcing all that stuff to those services and you have to do the integration game. And for me, it's part of your Rails app, right? It's integrated into your code, right? When you deploy it, you deploy my code with your code. And so all you have to do is, let's say you're building one of the services that I want to build for like podcasters that does something for podcasters.
Yep.
So what you do is you pull in my user management engine, my permission engine, my payment engine, and then you create your product and you tell your product to talk within the code, right? Not farming out, figure out the integration. No, it's all right there. It's just ready to plug it in. So you just plug it in and then it's okay. I did the piece that I really care about.
Yeah.
And I can deploy the whole app.
Well, I mean, it's not a direct connection, but similarities is like the whole WordPress world for me. Like most of my sites are on WordPress. I know you don't do it that much of it, but okay. For me, if I'm a beginner and I don't want to hire a web developer and I just want to get something off the ground, like my Fuel Foundations charity site is not pretty, but because I launched it, I had it up in like a half an hour. Because,
and that's the idea.
All right, I need to integrate it with PayPal so I could take some donations and Stripe. Got that working. Cool. I want to be able to upload images, eventually launch projects. These are all plugins that exist in the WordPress world. Let's find the ones that I trust and are secure. Now, it would have been faster if I had worked with a charity-specific WordPress partner development company that has a turnkey system ready to go, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah. And mine is a little less turnkey in the sense that it's like, hey, grab my plugin and go.
Right.
And, you can deploy, but it's built for developers to not have to build those pieces. But it is that same plugin architecture.
Yeah, the difference is your target market is other developers, right? Like, hey, you want to speed up your ability to make your clients happy? Cool. You're my target audience, right?
Right.
Okay. I like that.
Or I have this idea that I want to get out there well, don't get bogged down in the details of how to get paid, right? How to collect the payments, how to set up the user management, how to do the user profiles, how to add PayPal, how to collect donations, whatever, right? Grab all those pieces and pull them in, and then just make the call, just call the hooks that you have to within the code. Just connect it. Just plug it,
which is what a coder does, right? You're getting things to talk to each other the right way. You're going to test it, make sure there's no breakpoints or failures. I get that. Yeah. I like that. Cool.
And so then you could do what you
get that epiphany?
About a week ago.
So this is fresh. Now, granted, this is not going to air right away, but I mean, that's cool that we're already into 2024. I mean, you and I are recording this at the end of January, but so it might not air until maybe March, but trying to get it out sooner. But that's cool that it sounds like you did some deep diving. But
then you get you can go find your freedom. And if you get laid off, well, okay, save yourself a whole bunch of time and effort, license the software and go.
Well, licensing is a great financial game. If you're good enough to create something that's very, very successful and popular and people start falling in love with it, you license it out. There's a residual income stream. So.
Yeah. And I can see that people could license just the pieces they need. Or they could pay a license for everything and then they can just pull it in as they need.
Yeah. And you're right, because not every programmer or developer understands the business world. Right. I'm a business guy. I'm not a developer and a coder. I'm going to probably outsource a larger project to people that you target as your audience and your training. So I'm going to look for people who can speed up a timeline or get a development rolled out with trusted components that I don't even know about, but they've already done that, right? So that's the value that they're bringing to the table for somebody like me, where I'm executing for my clients on their branding, the brand launch, tying it all together, make sure all the media components, everything works. And then obviously, because I want everything back to that core of a website, right? And I want to make sure their platform is solid, but I don't develop platforms as a service. I barely work with software as a service. I do work a lot with Salesforce with my one client. That's my best SaaS experience. And I've done a little bit of dabbling in the PaaS world, but I'm not a coder. I need your world of people to make that work.
Right.
So,
and
then you get to target those people because you know how to talk to them. You've already done it. You've already worked with it. And thanks to your career experience, now you're realizing, wait a minute, I could help speed up all of their timelines by just tossing some of that together now and giving them a platform or a network of these components. And then they could pull from that. So,
and I've been talking to people who have built their own SaaS products, or like I talked to a guy that he's built a video game engine. Actually, he bought it and turned it into a video game engine. Anyway, but when he was setting up the payment system, he's like, I wish you'd done this, back when I was starting this, because if that had been out there, he's like, I would have paid you thousands of dollars because it would have saved me all the time and effort of integrating with the payment systems I'm integrating with.
Super cool. So is that one of those light bulb discussions?
Yeah.
It's like ding, ding.
And I talked to him on the summit. That's the thing that's fun. So
nice.
The summit's coming out in February. I'm trying to draw in more Ruby people.
Is he going to be a speaker or?
Yeah.
Nice.
So the summit, I'm just interviewing people, just asking them what they think the future of Ruby is. But
do you have a site up for that too, or is it connected through your core site?
So, I'll just say it. ClickFunnels 2 sucks.
I know you tried getting into it and you were not happy with it. You went deeper than I did on that.
So I set up ClickFunnels. I signed up for ClickFunnels 2.0, and I tried to set up the Summit site through it because I wanted people to be able to do the upsell thing, right? And anyway, what wound up happening was I just couldn't get it to do what I want. It was majorly clunky. And then the other thing is that I was like, okay, well, they said, oh, well, you can just set up a webhook, which basically means when something happens on ClickFunnels, they call over to your app and send you all the information, and then you can do stuff with it from there. Well, their webhook isn't documented. And when I asked them for the documentation, nobody could tell me what the documentation looked like. And then I had all these other integration issues with the other pieces that I'm using. And I finally was just like, you know what, it's not worth what I'm paying for it to have to jump through all these hoops to get it to run. So I am rejiggering it onto my own website because I can actually do that. I know how to do that.
Cool.
And so, I mean, do I have as pretty a template as theirs? No.
Yeah, so it took them a while to get to that level there on their end too.
Right.
You know, they didn't have that polished that day one.
Right. But the thing is that it does what I want. Mm-hmm. Right. And the other thing is if I can get the basic Summit functionality together where somebody enters their email address, they get the email that says, hey, you're on the list for the Summit. We'll let you know when the videos are released and things like that.
Yeah, the automation.
Right. And then they go to the next page and the next page says, hey, we're releasing each interview for 24 hours on these days, right, on this schedule. If you want to be able to access them early as we have them ready to go and have perpetual access to them afterward, you need to have a subscription to the video training.
Cool.
And so, I mean, and that's all it says. And then it has the sales page on it, which is easy enough.
Well,
and I can figure out the funnel method, right? Piece of it later.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. So the thing I'm looking at with the funnel piece is I'm pretty sure that what you have to do is, so they have basically how it would work is one of two ways. You either send them back to Stripe checkout for a product that's essentially an upgrade product, right? And so, you prorate what they paid for the lower subscription onto the higher subscription, and then you do a little bit of canceling this and signing up for that. Or the other way you can do it is if you want to make it all part of the same thing and then it eventually gets charged, what you do is you can have them enter their credit card on the website. It just does it through a Stripe form, so you don't have to be PCI compliant because Stripe
as long as you're not yeah, exactly. As long as you're not storing that. Yeah, that's why I love Stripe.
But Stripe has a concept of a card token. And so you authorize the card and you have the token, and then you let them choose what they want, and then you schedule the payment to go through when they're done.
That's
choosing.
Cool. I didn't realize that. That's awesome. Yeah.
And I think that's how ClickFunnels has always done it as well, right? Because the way that they do it is the same way. You do it, you pick the upsell, you pick the other upsell.
Yeah, because they
finalize things.
Depending on how deep a ClickFunnel is, or a funnel system, if somebody's using their, because I just learned something like a few weeks ago. You can
go 4 steps in, and then it charges you 1 time.
You're 10 minutes later, and I noticed that. Like I went and logged into my bank account just for fun to see if I had multiple auths. Nope, one single authorization. Like actually, it hadn't even fully cleared the account. You're right. There was like this there must have been this virtual token. Not even one auth even officially happened in my bank account yet.
Yeah.
So, and because I just do everything off my Visa check card. I got rid of all my credit cards. Cash is king. And it was like, okay, interesting. Because it went, I probably, depending on how annoying somebody's funnel is, I was probably still clicking through 5 to 10 minutes more of BS, just trying to get to the end of the experience. And I was like, well, how did you hold that authorization so long? And let's say I did agree to more stuff. Well, then you just add another 50, 75, maybe hundreds of dollars into the transaction. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. And the thing is that if you drop off at any point during the funnel, well, I've already scheduled the payment job, right? And connected it to your order.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, okay, well.
As long as you don't run out of funds. There's the other problem.
Yeah. So your session's over, so now I'm going to go run the charge.
I wonder if Stripe does what gas stations do. So if a gas station, at least I think they started changing some of the authorization limits, but for years, a lot of people didn't know this, especially if you owned a pickup truck. But if you went to a gas station and you were trying to get rid of credit card usages because you want to not live in debt and you just wanted to go cash is king, right? The gas station authorization limits for check cards, meaning AKA ATM cards, AKA Visa check cards, was $75.
Right.
So if you had a truck, and with the spike of cost per gallon over the past 5 to 10 years, you were exceeding the limit of the card right away. Like the gas pump would stop at $75. And if you're driving a diesel truck, you might barely put 5-10 gallons in or whatever that math is.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to put the pump thing back in, reauthorize it again. Hopefully the bank doesn't flag it as a duplicate authorization from the same business. And then you're back activating the gas pump again, right?
Yeah.
Well, I even never knew
I ran into that at Costco filling up my car last year.
Okay.
It hit $100 and
So I think they moved it to 100. But again, if you had a big SUV with a big fuel tank, you can go over $100. I mean, yeah. If you ran a Tahoe in Colorado, we were just coming back from skiing in Colorado. You ran a Tahoe, you're putting way more than $100 if you need to fill that tank.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. Tahoes, Suburbans, all those bigger SUVs. Yep. So this is a great point, right? Like, okay, well, now I know that they pre-auth up to 100. So if you add on more add-ons after that in this world you're talking about, I don't know how that works. Are they even doing a pre-auth, or does the virtual token?
I don't think they pre-authorize it.
Is Stripe smart to know that there's more than $100 available in there, but they're not pre-authing it? See, I don't know how that virtual token stuff works. So,
I'm pretty sure you just put the card information in.
Right, but my point is, let's say at the initial part of the funnel, you only bought a $75
and then it validates the card.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you validated it at $75 for the initial purchase, but the person hasn't checked out of the funnel yet, and now I'm going through your add-ons, yes, no, and now I'm up to $500 worth of stuff, but maybe that account only had $300 in it. But when I started the transaction on that virtual token, it thought I was only buying $75 worth.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, like, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I was like, would it push the transaction through, and now you're gonna have to fight with your bank because you got an overdraft? I don't know. But it's cool that they have that level of technology now, and it's cool that you can figure that out and build a better system. And who knows, dude? What if this is a tripping trigger? Here's a funny thing to help bring the show to a close, right? The vision. Like, what if you trying to build a better mousetrap because you found ClickFunnels clunky? And again, you're not trying to beat ClickFunnels. You're trying to take some of their best practices, apply it to a niche audience with Ruby on Rails. And what if this is pretty successful, and you get it to tap a little chunk out of that world, but in a very niche audience? That's all you need to do to have a successful company. You don't need to knock ClickFunnels off of the radar. So
and that's part of the thing, right? Because like I said, I'm working on the payments stuff, and so I could have that in there where it's essentially, look, you can have the payment model where it's just like one checkout page, or you can have the payment model where there's a checkout page with upsells.
I like that. Yeah, give them the option.
Right, and so those maybe they're two different things, or maybe it's a plug into the payment system or whatever. But so there's another marketing guy, and he's the guy that told me to put together the summit. Nice. And I put together the summit, and I started talking to people, and I've been getting more and more clarity on what I want.
I've always supported you in your summits. I think it's a great one. I love the word, because I don't like conferences. I'm like, summits my jam.
But this is a little different because I'm not doing speakers this time. I'm interviewing all of the people. And so I'm getting people who contribute directly to Ruby or its community, and I'm just asking what's coming down the pipe for Rubyists. But anyway, he talks about, because you have red ocean, blue ocean, and what he says is, instead what you want to do is you want to do a blue offer in a red ocean, right? So like ClickFunnels and the kind of the funnel space is a red ocean, right? At this point, there's ClickFunnels, and there are a whole bunch of other companies that are doing kind of the same thing as ClickFunnels in different ways. They all have kind of a different thing, but nobody's offering developers a way to do ClickFunnels in their apps.
Interesting.
Right? And so it's a blue offer because there's nothing else like it out there in a red ocean where people are looking for that kind of a solution. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, dude. I'm vibing with you.
So I that's what I'm looking at is, I can carve that out. Now I intend to carve out a few other things in other areas, right? So there are companies that provide authorization, like user sign in as a service. Well, the problem is every time I've tried to use one of those services, I've run into issues, either with the integration or the fact that I have to pay this third-party service to manage my users. And then I have this issue of I have to talk to them for my user data and my own app for all the rest of the data. And so then I've got to figure out how to do that in a way that makes it work and is fast.
Well,
but
it
if
sounds
it's
like
already
you
part
could
of
roll
my
this
app,
out in phases too. Like you
Yeah.
can conquer the transaction stuff for the funnel part first, then worry about launching a user type customer segment
management
next.
Yeah. But it's all in your app,
Yeah.
right? It's not a separate service.
Yeah. I got it.
And that's my offer. So
I
anyway,
like it. No, dude, I'm vibing with you, man. I mean, dude, you know, I've been talking about stuff like this for years, and it's cool to see. I don't want to call it a fail. I'm calling it a pivot.
yes,
And
it is.
There's books that have been released in the past few years on that theme, and people are afraid to one even take a risk. But then when they take a risk, then they're afraid that, oh well, that's a burn. Like, is it a burn, or is it meant to pivot you or push you in a similar direction but with a little more focus? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm backing off of the other shows and saying, look, if you want to keep running them and keep bringing people to the website, great, right?
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
only have
not
so
going
much
to
bandwidth.
build for those ecosystems,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
My focus is going to be on the Ruby and the Ruby on Rails stuff.
So would
And-
Ruby Rogues be one of the top podcasts you're going to really focus more heavily on in 2024?
Yeah.
Or does that
So
even apply?
yes.
I'm looking at your
so
website.
Ruby Rogues, because
I'm gonna screen
basically,
There's the current shows.
right. So
Yeah.
Ruby Rogues will be the biggie. And then I'm going to start a second show, and it's going to be for software developers becoming entrepreneurs, right? So I'll talk about, because I have, you know, a lot of the marketing and all those kinds of chops, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, so I can talk, you know, on my own about, hey, here's how you build an audience for your software with a podcast. Here's how you build out, you know, different aspects of your offering.
Yeah.
But
That's cool.
you know, right. And so like what I'm planning to do is every other week I'll have a guest, and the guest will be somebody who's kind of done the software, you know, with 1, 2, maybe 3 developers who built a product, right? And just talk about, okay, you know, how did you build your business as kind of a solo dev, you know, without another partner who's doing some of the other pieces. Or even if you did have that, right, it's still like, hey, look, we got from 0 to profitable with 1 developer. How'd you do it?
Yeah.
Right. And so then we can talk about,
if you want to save money on personnel, you could make
Right.
it happen faster with a platform that you plug that one person's plugged into.
Right. Yeah, nailed it. Yep. So that's the plug is, hey, look, right now, I mean, even if I'm pre-launch, right, it's, hey, look, right now I am building out the payment system piece where, you know, you can manage all of your products as part of your application, right, and connect to Stripe. So if you want that engine so you don't have to build it yourself and you can go build the rest of the thing, then, you know, come sign up for the pre-launch, right?
Well, yeah, because it's like, dude, you literally are talking about a funnel. Like, hey, I'm going to roll out this part of my platform first. If you're interested in the next one, let me know. I need to know who's going to be on the early release or the next release cycle. Yeah. When that next phase gets released. And then when we're ready to do client management or user management, then hop on that release, right? Yeah. Because everybody knows it takes time. It's like, hey, every 6 months to 12 months, maybe you're doing another release. I don't know the development cycle, but yeah. So
it depends. But the other thing is that if you buy it at a certain level, you have me as an expert who's built the system, not only as the guy that built this system, but a support for your payment system while you get launched.
Yep. I like it.
So anyway,
look at you, bro. I like it.
I don't know about that, but I'm excited because I feel like I can give people.
Well, I like it when you get excited because it's so, we've been podcasting so long together that we have good episodes and I can hear the episodes where there's some struggle. You and I both have, that's the whole point of life, by the way. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen, there's always going to be struggle. The difference is, where's your mindset at? You know, can you pull the head out of the sand, recognize the distractions, pause them, or just eventually kill them off? Because I've done that. I'll pause some things because I'm not ready to fully kill them off. And then I'm like, eventually reached a point where I'm like, okay, it's dangling there like a piece of low hanging fruit. I clearly don't care anymore. It's time to, I like to say, not leave behind, but grow beyond. It's time for me to level up and grow beyond that. And it was great while it lasted, but now it's time to do this instead. You know?
Yep.
I like that. Well, listen, how would you sum this up? We always do final words, or, you know, I'm not even going to call this a legacy message because we and I are checking in more often than we used to. But what I've heard today, I've heard, you know, pivoting, refocusing, right, retargeting. And this all just happened in the past week. So this is exciting for 2024 for you. So is there a way to easily sum it up, like an epiphany that you've realized? Like, how would you sum that mindset component?
Well, I think what triggered a lot of this was just that I realized that I was stressed out and unhappy.
There it is.
Right. And so if you're stressed out and unhappy, there's a reason why, right? And I'm not painting this as, you know, you need to pivot your life, right? Maybe there's some minor change and you keep doing what you're doing in a different way, or I don't even know. But the thing is that, and I found this for like when I was working full-time jobs, by the time I was considering whether or not it was worth jumping ship or trying to fix whatever was wrong wherever I was at, I've learned that it was just time to jump ship.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's okay.
And so the thing is just sit down and figure out, okay, well, what is it that I really want? And, you know, I have, it was the same friend, Brian, that I was talking about earlier, right? He's like, I'm trying to put together this mastermind for development teams that are small teams to solve this particular issue. And, you know, and I'm like, why? And he's like, because I want to make money. And I'm like, okay, but what's in it for them, right? And how does this, you know, how does this get you where you want to go? And what I realized is that I've been doing a lot of the things I've been doing to be better, you know, better well known. I don't know what the right way to say it is.
Brand
or
growth.
Because I thought it would make me more money, or because this,
more
this,
influence.
and this.
Yeah.
Right. And the reality is what I want to do is I want to feel like I've made the kind of difference for people that I'm looking for in my own life.
And the money will come if you're helping enough people. Enough
the right
people
way.
will. We've all these different top speakers over the years, or amazing historic influencers, right? There's lots of quotes, but if you're helping enough other people, it will return, I believe, tenfold, right?
You may have to wade through a ton of crap.
Sure.
I mean, I did.
But again, it's about the long game. Everybody wants the short win game. So if I was coaching that guy and if I heard one of his early responses as, well, I just want to do this so I can make some money. Of course we want to have survival and we want to make money. But if that is your core first response, you're already possibly going down the wrong path, because you're not focused on your customer.
Yeah.
Like, how many of us start launching these projects or building this and building that, and you didn't even check with your audience. You didn't even check with your customer base and say, do you even need this? You're just saying, well, I think they need it. Well, great. Now you spend the next 6 months building it, burning cash, go to launch it, and 5 people want it. Clearly your customers didn't want it, you know?
Right.
So it's that mindset too, like focus on your target market. Who's your customer base? Is it something that you're actually helping somebody with? That's the key word I got out of it. What you just said is helping others. How are you helping others? Are you resolving a problem that exists, and can it benefit enough other people that, yes, in the end result, can it make money? Sure.
Yep.
Right. What's the potential of that? And that's the ROI. What is the ROI on the time and possible money that you're going to be investing over the next 3, 6, 12 months, right? So these are those calculations that entrepreneurial minded people need to start figuring out.
Right.
So,
So that's the thing, is if you're unhappy, kind of rethink why you're doing what you're doing. And then from there, figure out, okay, then what difference can I make for somebody else in a way that also ticks the boxes for you?
I like it. Well said. All right. We're going to bring the show to a close because I want to be able to prove to myself and you that we can release this new format in under 59 minutes. Well, actually in under 60 minutes, because it's going to be in the 50. I'm watching the clock. So ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Wood is back. First legit recorded show in 2024. We have another show to air yet, but a lot of exciting things ahead. If you know anybody in the development world, make sure you check out topenddevs.com. That's his core site. That's where all the podcasts are. That's where the training is. And then obviously once he launches this campaign and this summit, I'll be sure to have him send me over whatever link he's using for that, and we'll have that added to the show notes.
It'll be rubydevsummit.com.
rubydevsummit.com. There you go. I'm going to take note of that real quick. rubydevsummit.com.
And then if you're a Ruby on Rails developer, I don't know that you have anybody listening, but all of the plugins and stuff are going to be at railscomposer.com.
Is that another one of your site?
I haven't launched it yet.
Will be.
Yeah.
Ruby. Yeah. What is it called again? Ruby
Rails
Composer. Composer. I like that.
.com.
Composer. Yeah, look at that. All right. My notes have been taken. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Chuck helped us do that today. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Remember, you too can live the fuel. Later.